Your reaction on the news today about these desertion charges, when you first heard it, what came to your mind?
Well, Dana, this is not a happy day for the Army, an organization that I loved. I served for 27 years until recently retiring. This is a sad day where the exception to the rule, someone like who did what Bowe Bergdahl is accused of doing, doesn't represent the men and women in uniform. The heroes that you were talking about, those 6 warriors killed trying to recover a comrade, those represent the best as the Army. I think it's important we remember that.
Absolutely.
And it's also key that we're now moving to where we need to go. There is substantial evidence that Bowe Bergdahl committed serious crimes, desertion, misbehavior in the face of the enemy. He's got to be held to account. That means the Army has to come forward with real evidence to prove what he did, to prove all the allegations against him. I don't think that's too much to ask. And it also gives Bowe Bergdahl the chance to tell his side of the story. These are the due process rights that real American soldiers have defended. I'm glad that Bowe Bergdahl is finally having the chance to do it, and I'm glad that the Army finally stood up after far too long to hold this soldier to account.
Why do you think it took so long?
You know, for me, it'd be speculation. But look, there's clearly political pressure. We have an administration that was invested in a narrative where Bowe Bergdahl was some sort of hero. They brought him home. They expected to be treated as heroes themselves for rescuing this guy from the Taliban. But, you know, his comrades in arms, those warriors who served with him and knew the truth, stood up on shows like yours, other shows, got in the media and said, wait a minute, no, you're not getting the whole story. It's a great, almost Andrew Breitbartian event in which we went around the mainstream media, and I say we, it's those who want the real story to get out, went around the mainstream media and got the truth out there. Now it's in the hands of the military justice system where everyone will get a fair chance to present their side without, you know, the Daily Coast covering for people, without people like Susan Rice talking about him serving with honor. God, it makes me want to gag.
Well, and I wanted to, I don't understand, obviously, and I know that in terms of general court-martial and then the special court-martial, I know that that's significant, and I, you know, fully admit I don't understand all of the legal procedures as it relates to these military issues. But one of the things that I did notice, and I realized that at least depending on the charge of desertion, and I know that there's different levels of charges, one of the ones that they had mentioned, I think it was Article 99, from what I understand, death as punishment might be included in that with a conviction, but I didn't hear that mentioned. They had mentioned life and imprisonment. I don't know if I am being too speculative and assuming that that's just off the table or if there's maybe a strategy behind it.
My guess is it's off the table. You know, I'm a trial lawyer in civilian life.
That's why we love having you on, Kurt.
I try and use my powers for good instead of evil. Looking at it objectively as a lawyer and not as a guy who's out there really advocating for the guys still on active duty, this doesn't strike me as a death penalty case. That is, it doesn't seem like the kind where normally they would file capital charges. Something like Hassan at Fort Hood, now that's a death penalty case. But he still faces substantial accountability here.
Even if you had 6 Americans, even if you had 6 Americans who lost their lives looking for them, you don't think that they would make a capital case? I don't.
Well, it's not the kind you typically charge someone with a capital crime for. It just isn't. And there's going to be it's going to be interesting watching the prosecutors link the death of these warriors to him in a way that holds him personally accountable. He faces, you know, the rest of his life behind bars. That's a real possibility. This is in the hands of the military justice system now, Dana. This isn't undue command influence is something that our military justice system fights every day. It's not about what the higher ups want. It's about looking at the evidence, looking at the law, looking at the facts, and coming in and making a just verdict. I've got a lot of faith in the military system. It has procedures and protections that civilians don't have.